Hello and welcome to the Locker Room Season 1, Episode 7. And here we have a very, very special guest. He's gotten a black belt in Carlson Gracie, London, and his name is Alisha Ahmad. Alisha, how are you feeling today?
Good, thank you for having me, Sarah. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, pleasure to have you. Okay, Alisha, so I have done kickboxing. I've heard of MMA. I've heard of boxing, and I've also heard of jiu-jitsu. But when it comes to jiu-jitsu, for me, it's a very niche. That's what I believe. It's a very niche sport. Every time I hear about jiu-jitsu, I hear about the fact that half of the people want to go because they want to train themselves in self-defense. Some of the girls, I don't know if you know Sanam Sehgal, is a friend of mine. And the rest of the people just want to do jiu-jitsu because it's an art. I don't know how to explain it, but can you just elaborate?
There are two types of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
One is the traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu
And one is the Brazilian. Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. So Japanese jiu-jitsu comes from judo, and it was designed, or I guess directed in such a way that a stronger opponent had an advantage over a smaller opponent.
Yeah.
And these two Brazilian brothers, the Gracie brothers, in the early 1920s, were taught by this gentleman, by this Japanese gentleman who came to Brazil, and they sort of figured out a way to tweak it and make it work for smaller people. And fast forward, almost 100 years now, and jiu-jitsu has sort of taken over the world. People know jiu-jitsu really well now, I would suppose, because of MMA.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, the UFC was created by the Gracie brothers.
Exactly.
So they wanted to show the world, in the early 90s, there was this big separation between the martial arts. Some would say, karate, Shotokan, Kyokushin is better than judo, is better than kickboxing, is better than Shaolin, XYZ, Western boxing, Greco-Roman wrestling, and so on and so forth. And so the Gracie brothers would challenge people, and they said, okay, how can we really make it big? And they said, okay, we'll go to America, and they came up with this platform called the UFC. And they displayed how jiu-jitsu is this dominant martial art. And they had smaller brother Hoist Gracie. He was one of the smaller brothers who went in and fought, multiple opponents in one night and won. And that sort of rocked the martial arts world, which now we take for granted because especially the new generations have grown up watching UFC for the last 15 years.
Exactly.
And everyone just knows MMA.
MMA.
So just a little bit of background about Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Carlson Gracie is Carlson Gracie Sr. Was the son of Carlos Gracie, who was one of the original brothers that began Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And he had a very tough kind of style of Jiu-Jitsu. One could say that he started some of the original MMA gyms. They used to have what was called Vale Tudo in Brazil at the time, where you had sort of not the way we describe mixed martial arts now. It was really rough, no holds barred kind of fighting. And that is similar, that's kind of a similar ethos that we display in our jiu-jitsu at Carlson Gracie, which is like a smash kind of jiu-jitsu.
So tell me something. Pakistan, back in the days, I don't know if it's popular anymore, kabaddi has been a very big sport. Do you think there's some sort of a relatability with the masses when it comes to jiu-jitsu? Because it's somewhat all about grappling, holding the opponent up close, having that fight element. Do you think people can relate? Because I don't think the masses really know about jiu-jitsu. Or do they?
Jiu-jitsu, unfortunately, really is not a spectator sport. Right? I think in something like judo, where you wear a traditional gi, it's called, like the uniform, that can be exciting because it can be quite boring to watch if you're watching an entire match because you're waiting for, one split explosive moment where someone gets a throw. Wrestling is exciting to watch because you have these pins and throws. Jiu-Jitsu, if you don't understand, is actually really quite dull for the lay person to watch because they're like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah.
They don't quite understand what's happening. So we are organizing for an event. We're organizing for a tournament that's coming up on July 8th. And we've tried to change up the format according to what's called the Abu Dhabi Combat Club. It's called ADCC, which happens every, might be 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Might even be 4 years. And it's generally considered the Olympics of Jiu-Jitsu, right? The ADCC happens, it's sponsored by the Sheikh of Abu Dhabi. And it's really what's brought Jiu-Jitsu into mainstream media. And the format is different. Jiu-Jitsu traditional Jiu-Jitsu that we see, there are many different organizations that hold tournaments. And there's this culture that's developed around scoring points rather than the ultimate goal of the art, which is to get a submission on your opponent through a strangulation or a joint lock or so on and so forth. So we are trying to change up the format according to ADCC rules to make it more exciting and fun to watch.
Yeah.
And also we are trying to organize it in such a way that it's going to be a good experience for the athletes. I have competed here in Pakistan. I have competed internationally. And, even at international tournaments, timing and things happen. One tends to wait an hour or two. In Pakistan, tournaments tend to be organized pretty badly. And at the end of the day, it's organized for the athletes, but they are the ones that are suffering. They might not eat for 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
You get an adrenaline dump. You're just sort of waiting around. Khana pina kuch bhi nahi hai. The washrooms are, a disaster. So we are organizing this event at the Toyota Gymnasium at the Habib Public School, and we're trying to make it sort of a first-class experience for everyone participating.
So when you talk about we are organizing this event, where do we have a Jiu-Jitsu federation over here in Pakistan?
There is not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu federation, but there is a Jiu-Jitsu federation which comes under Pakistan Sports Board.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah, that's exactly what everyone says who comes and sits on this platform. Why is it that I would understand a one-off federation going wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Multiple federations when it comes to football, tennis. Everyone has the same complaint that either they don't want to promote the sport, or they're not giving the right amount of budgets, or they're not promoting the athlete. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you know Rizwan Orakzai.
Mm-hmm.
He just messaged me a couple of days ago and he's like, I need some sponsorship. I have a fight in Lahore. I was like, yeah, okay, just send me your presentation and deck. And Bichara, his deck was all about his credentials. And in the end, the sponsorship package was 1 lakh rupees. And I said, did you ask people around? He's like, I've burnt my bridges. I've literally asked everyone and anyone, can you help me raise 1 lakh rupees? And this is the mixed martial art industry. Is it that difficult for an athlete to get 1 lakh rupees to go and...
Absolutely. I think absolutely that's a big issue here in Pakistan.
Why? Where is the money going? Let's not be controversial, but I just want to understand if tomorrow you want to represent yourself abroad.
So I participated in the Pakistan Jiu-Jitsu trials in 2016.
Yeah.
I was on the Pakistan team. Okay, I was supposed to go to a Jiu-Jitsu world tournament that was happening in Bangkok, and the people simply asked me for money. They were asking me for a lot of money. And I simply asked them, like, I have to pay for my ticket, I have to pay for my stay. What do you need money for?
Yeah.
So they didn't really have an answer. And unfortunately, I'm not trying to point out, point fingers or anything, but most people that are in charge of sports here are not athletes. So it's other people that have no idea about sports are sort of designated into certain positions. And
they haven't even played the sport. They don't understand the sport, but
they have no idea, right? At the end of the day, the way it seems to someone on the outside is that people are allocated a budget and they just have to figure out what to do with it, how to best suit themselves, right? So at the end of the day, the athletes are suffering.
This is more of a CSR gimmick. Every now and then they have to justify the budget. They'll do some small CSR or just promote some sort of an event, and then the rest is history.
Also, the thing is, I don't really believe that they have the athletes in mind. They don't have their best interests at heart. I'll give you an example. We have these two young men that come and train with us. They actually train under Badshah Wushu Academy.
Yeah.
It's Shahzeb Khan and Asim Leopard. Okay, these guys are absolute monsters. Okay, they're fantastic. They've been tearing up the scene in MMA.
Yeah.
They're excellent at jiu-jitsu, and I've dealt with the gentlemen who they are currently under at the Pakistan Sports Board. Because they're on the Pakistan MMA team.
Yeah.
So I was asking them, can you guys compete at our event? Full well knowing that they're not going to be allowed to. Because if you're not part of the Pakistan Sports Board, as an athlete, you cannot compete in any event that is not sanctioned by the sports board. How do you get sanctioned by the sports board? You have to jump through hoops and God knows, what else.
So it's costly to even be talented. In other words, and then going through certain layers of...
I'm very grateful that they still get to come and train with us.
Yeah.
I'm happy they can still do that. बहुत ही मुश्किल से जैसे कोच आज हमें टाइम नहीं मिल रहा, हम इतने सारे क्लासेस कर रहे हैं, फ्री होके हम आपके पास आएंगे. बड़े मुश्किल से वो आके हमारे साथ ट्रेनिंग करते हैं.
But they can't compete.
But they cannot compete. Certainly not. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the federation bit. There's no accountability. Nobody can hold them accountable.
There's a coach in Lahore, Janzeb Rashad. He tried to, I think, make a difference. I think he tried to highlight the fact that these people are quite often corrupt, and some of them have been charged with human trafficking and things like that.
Yeah. That's not a first.
And it just sort of goes under the radar. After a while, people just tend to sweep it under the rug, but that tends to be what's happening in Pakistan generally. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's it for the federation, because I feel like when we delve into the federation and the governing bodies,
positive.
Let's keep it positive. Let's talk about the athletes. Let's talk about the actual talent and the sport. But after a 2-minute short break, guys, let's come back. Welcome back to the Locker Room, episode 7. Alisha, so we were talking about Jiu-Jitsu and the female space in Jiu-Jitsu. Do girls come to play this sport only primarily because of self-defense?
I think, yes. I think they start off that way.
Yeah.
Initially, there is a desire to learn out of fear for one's own safety.
Okay.
I think for men, wanting to learn a martial art comes from often a different space.
Yeah.
But also from self-defense. But however, I do feel for women it's different. It tends to be more for self-defense, if not primarily.
Yeah.
But I think once they start training, they get absorbed into the culture and they see it for all the other benefits. The endorphins post-training, the camaraderie, the team, and also the amount of confidence that Jiu-Jitsu can instill in a person. Yeah. Doing something really, really difficult every day, horrible, suffering through something every day builds resilience.
Yeah.
And over time, if you can stick with it, it really does help not just build character, but as we said, confidence and an ability which you can then carry forward in other areas of your life.
Are they comfortable in training with men, or certain girls would like to only train with females? So,
interesting question.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when we get inquiries from women about wanting to come and train or do a trial, they often ask me, do you have a women's only class?
Yeah.
At the moment, we don't have an instructor that I believe is qualified enough to run a women's only class. We have tried to create a space for women only, but no one ever shows up.
Okay.
So all the classes tend to be mixed, Women tend to enjoy mixed classes more. I have never had a woman come in and say she's not comfortable training with men.
Interesting.
But I've had men say they're not comfortable training with women.
Okay. Wow. So that's a first.
Yeah,
that's a first. Okay, tell me about strength. Okay. So in jiu-jitsu, if somebody is 70 kgs, for example, and if I were to, I'm 60. Not that I'm 60, I'm just saying, giving an example. I'm 60 kgs. Would that reflect on the game, or is it all about your technique when it comes to jiu-jitsu?
Strength definitely is very important. There is this marketing machine in jiu-jitsu, which Alisha Gracie, one of the founding brothers, started. About how, a smaller person can defeat a bigger person, which is true. It can happen.
Because of the movement. He can move faster with it.
I mean, we have this, I always give the example of, there's a young athlete at our club called Munib. He's an absolute sher. Okay, he's a little lion. He's actually a spider monkey, but I call him sher. And he's about 50 kilos, okay? And he can submit people that are 80 plus, right?
Wow.
So we'll have, 30 kilos of weight difference if you're fighting someone makes a huge difference. 5-6 kilos makes a massive difference. But mashallah, he's, he has a mind for jiu-jitsu. He puts in the hard work. You can tell he really spends his time thinking about his game. And very often we'll have, muscle men come into the gym, or guys who you can tell they've got an air about, toughness about themselves. First person I pair them up with is Munib, and Munib chokes them out. So,
does it hurt the ego when...
100%, of course. I've been there. Everyone's been there. When you walk into the gym, you have to get used to tapping. You have to get used to submitting, because otherwise you're not going to get better.
So an egoistic person is not going to tap because he feels like...
No, they're going to tap, or they're going to go to sleep, or they're going to break something, right? You have to tap.
Yeah.
So it takes a really sick kind of person to keep training for years and years and years, because it is suffering, it's really difficult. So there is a difference definitely in strength and size between men and women. And I have this requirement. I'm much tougher on gauging my female athletes for promotion than I am for the boys. For me, a woman has to be able to beat a guy, and then, if I can pair up one of my white belt girls and I'll put her with a guy, and if I can see she's consistently beating men, she's going to get promoted to the next belt.
Okay. And that's how you guys rank.
And it's not the same with guys. I'm not that tough on guys. But with women, I am, because I feel like
they can incorporate it in their daily lives as well.
I don't know. I feel like I have a duty to make sure that their jiu-jitsu is stronger, that their jiu-jitsu is better, because God forbid, if a guy
happens,
needs to, a guy has more strength, he can maybe fall back on his strength. Whereas, not all women are strong. Some women are very strong. And they may not have their strength to fall back on. So they must have sharp technique, to fall back on.
Do these people have any meltdowns when they're working out when it comes to jiu-jitsu?
People cry often on the mats, My coach, Wilson Jr. in London, Monday night beginners class, he wouldn't stop the warm-up until someone threw up. It was like normal. And it's not like a crazy warm-up. You'll be like running, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, running, push-ups, sit-ups, squats. And like when someone gives up or someone like gives out and you can tell that they're really pushing hard, you're finding sort of where your limitation is, then you can move on.
Have you seen an example in any of the males also, where they have implemented this particular art in their daily lives?
100%. Many
in terms
examples
of their confidence, in terms of a situation that they've gotten stuck in.
We've got this gentleman who trains with us, Saif Samiullah. He's an architect. And I remember when he came in, almost 6 years ago, and he was this sort of very insecure. You could tell from his body language. I remember he was wearing a trench coat. I mean, I never forget, he came in wearing a trench coat. Like Inspector Gadget or something. And Jiu-Jitsu has completely transformed him as a person. You can tell how much more confident he is. I think I was looking at pictures and you can see even his hands have changed, He's, and he really appreciates, you should get a chance to talk to him, I suppose, about this, but he talks about how Jiu-Jitsu is helping him with work, deal with stress, sort of plan ahead, because Jiu-Jitsu is often given in the analogy of chess, human chess. You have to be able to plan ahead and plan your attacks and plan your steps ahead. And so I think after a lot of time practicing, people can definitely utilize some of these strengths
and art.
skills.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that thought. We're going to be right back after a short break. See you guys. Welcome back to the locker room, guys. And here we have Alisha. Alisha, tell me something. If I want to learn jiu-jitsu, okay, I've had a short background of kickboxing, and my body is a little stiff. I'm a very stiff person. Do you think jiu-jitsu has that forte in also molding you in a more flexible manner when it comes to the sport, or would I be at a disadvantage because generally I feel like I'm not that flexible?
I think that completely is up to you.
Okay.
So I honestly believe the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that once you learn the basics, you can sort of work towards creating your own style, which happens after quite a few years.
Yeah.
I'd say 5-6 years of training.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of this gentleman that used to train with us in London. His name was Jason Bell. He was an ironmonger. Okay, so he was ridiculously strong. Like, I can't even tell you how strong this man was. He had no neck, no arms. Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult to submit.
Yeah.
And he had one basic strategy. You knew exactly step by step what he was going to do, but you could not stop him.
Okay.
Right? So over time, if it was up to you, you could try and work on your flexibility, your strength. We've got a lot of new kids coming in, teenagers at Jiu-Jitsu, and I always give them an example of role-playing games, an RPG game.
Yeah.
I say this real life is like a video game. You know, you can choose your character. You want to build strength, you want to build speed, technical skill, power, so on and so forth. That's up to you. That's how much time you put in outside of class. Jiu-Jitsu itself, as a physicality, is going to teach you how to interact with the ground and how to utilize your whole body in unison. You know, a lot of people go to the gym and they tend to use machines or lift and their body is completely disconnected. So in jiu-jitsu, you have to be able to, for example, if you're applying an arm bar, an arm lock, to apply it correctly, you're going to be using your whole body strength against one person's elbow joint or their knee or their ankle or so on and so forth. So jiu-jitsu does have the ability to teach people how to have better coordination. I wouldn't say it's miraculously going to improve anyone's particular attributes. You know, it's not a secret pill. Everyone has to put in the work.
And they have their own journey as well. How fast, what the pace should be like. Tell me something. Do people get more injured when it comes to jiu-jitsu? Or
I would say accidents happen.
Okay.
The people that have more egos tend to get injured more because if you get into a bad position, right, and you realize, yes, you have to sort of try and see how you're going to survive in a bad situation and try and escape. But at some point you have to tap, you know. Some people tap too early, so they don't learn to be gritty and to tough it out. And some people don't tap and they get injured. But generally speaking, the environment at our academy, at least, is a very helpful academy, for lack of a better word. Everyone is genuinely trying to help each other get better, right? When I pair you up to teach you a specific move, right, you're going to be drilling with your partner. And you're not mindlessly just going through the movements. You're going to be talking to each other. It has that classroom feel where you're giving each other feedback. Hey man, did this feel right? Or you know, you should move around this way, try this, X, Y, Z. So in that sense, I think people do really try and help each other in that way.
Okay, coming to the meal plan, you know, usually when you go to the gym, every time a person turns around and tells their trainer that it's been 6 months, I've been coming and following your plan at the gym, but I haven't seen any results. And the trainer turns around and says, because you're not following the meal plan simultaneously with following my plan, my workout plan. Does that imply with jiu-jitsu as well? Is there a proper nutrition value with the sport? Or you can eat whatever you want and it's all about what you do on the day off?
I mean, I think general principles of health will always be there. You know, if you're looking at exercise, you have to always consider calories in, calories out. All calories are not equal. I've got a good friend who was trying to lose weight And he was like, right, I can have 1,000 calories a day, but he was having chocolate milkshakes and cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, एक milkshake उसने खा लिया, पी लिया, एक burger उसने खा लिया, and he was done. And of course, he wasn't doing too good because there's no nutritional value to the food. You know, 100 grams of broccoli and 100 grams of cheese are not the same.
The same, yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, jiu-jitsu, you burn a lot of calories. Yeah. In a way, it's not a workout as if you're running on a treadmill and you're bored, or you're cycling. No disrespect to people that like to cycle or run.
Yeah.
But you know, you're having fun. You can get lost in the moment, and you're burning calories. So you should eat well, have a balanced, nutritious diet, get enough protein in, eat all your fats, eat your carbs, you know, and you'll be good.
Are people in much more of an advantage if they know the other combat sports, as opposed to, if, for example, if I'm coming to you and I know kickboxing,
right.
would I be at an advantage learning jiu-jitsu faster as opposed to someone who hasn't really been in the combat sport?
I think that depends on you.
Okay.
Because all skills, I believe, are transferable.
Yeah.
So if you learn something from kickboxing, whether that's timing, whether that's speed, or that's generating power, yes, that can be applied to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If you've been doing kickboxing, you'll have strong hips, you'll have strong legs. That's certainly an advantage. You know, strong shoulders, strong back.
Yeah.
In terms of skill, I would say no, because they're completely different. Did I just contradict myself? Maybe. But I think maybe I'm using the wrong word. I mean, skills in the sense that maybe abilities that you're developing, you know, in terms of movement, speed, timing, like I said. But as far as striking is concerned, for example, there's no striking in jiu-jitsu. So that part of it would not be transferable.
Okay, tell me something. In Pakistan, when you say jiu-jitsu is a popular sport now, it isn't?
It's not, no.
It's
no,
not? It's not a popular sport?
No, I wouldn't say so.
If you were to tell me in numbers, in Pakistan, how many people are actively a part of this academy per se?
So I'm a little bit strange when it comes to this topic because I try and make it difficult for people to join the gym.
Okay.
Okay. So even when I joined Carlson Gracie in London, they had an extra heavy door. So you would come, if someone came in and like tried to open the door and didn't open, and if they were of a nervous disposition, they would just leave.
Go back.
You had to really break your way into that door to get your first step into the club.
So not anyone and everyone can just walk in and say, I want to learn this.
No, it's not easy to find. I get a lot of complaints. Oh, aapka Google Maps sahi nahi hai, or oh, you guys don't have a phone number or XYZ. You know, because a lot of people have no idea what jiu-jitsu is, right? People Google search martial art and we're at a good location, so people just, we want to get a black belt in boxing. We want to learn parkour. Oh my God, the amount of parkour inquiries I get, I can't tell you. People really want to learn parkour in Pakistan.
They want to learn that. But they don't know what the sport is. They've never heard of jiu-jitsu. They just know it's coming under mixed martial arts.
The people that do find us are the ones that actually know about jiu-jitsu. And they've been looking for a place to train. They do their research. I hate to say it, they're slightly intelligent when it comes to these matters. And they make their way to us.
Okay, let's come back to this event. Do you have any international players, or is it all local people?
I do believe we should have some Afghan players coming.
Okay.
We've got some foreigners that are living in Pakistan. They should be competing. But overall, the title of the event is the Pakistan Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu No-Gi Open.
Okay.
So it is a for Pakistan by Pakistanis event. I had mentioned earlier that events in Pakistan tend to be rather disorganized. People tend to be more about the media hype.
As opposed to the sport
itself? As opposed
itself?
to the actual, what are the deliverables for the athletes? You know, what are the takeaways? What are people actually going to gain from the experience? So that is our primary focus. Our primary focus is to have a smooth event for the athletes. We're using a software called Smooth Comp, which I don't know has ever been used in Pakistan before. So people will be able to see who they're fighting, when they're fighting. So they can come in, weigh in at their leisure, you know. ऐसा नहीं कि सुबह 8 बजे पहुंचो, शाम को 6 बजे आपका fight है. You know, so you're sitting there all day.
जो कि बहुत हो रहा था. In some of the events that I don't want to name, but they were asked to come in the morning and their matches were at night. So, it drains the athlete because you have to have a certain amount of like a prep in your
But also
mind.
you get an adrenaline dump,
Yeah,
right? There's excitement, there's fighting, so
Yeah.
your adrenaline goes through the roof, and then the exhaustion after that
Yeah,
is,
yeah. So when you say the gi competition, right?
no gi.
No gi.
Yes.
Is there an advantage with the no gi as opposed to gi?
No gi is a lot more popular
Yeah.
these days. There's a famous athlete called Gordon Ryan in America under New Wave Jiu-Jitsu and his coach John Danaher. He has done a great job for promoting Jiu-Jitsu, I would say, and making it sort of a more financially stable sport or something that athletes can actually make money from. Not that we're here or there here yet.
Yeah.
But people tend to like watching no-gi more because it's a little bit more explosive.
Yeah.
In the gi, you have fabric, so people can sort of hang on and there can be a bit of stalling. In no-gi, it's much more explosive. And even athletes that are not as skilled and they don't have as much skill in jiu-jitsu per se, if they're strong and fast, they can do well. So it favors the strong person, basically.
Alisha, I'm not going to take much of your time. Tell me something. That is the camera. You're more than welcome to promote your shirt, your hair, the event, whatever you want to. Okay? You have 3 minutes to look into the camera
Okay.
and say whatever you want to say about jiu-jitsu, about anything.
Okay. So, hi everyone. We are organizing the Pakistan Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu No-Gi Open for 2023 on July 8th in Karachi at the Toyota Gymnasium at the Habib Public School. We are trying to organize this event so that it is, a really enjoyable event for the athletes. We're going to try and have all the facilities there, changing rooms, food, water, everything that you need. And most importantly, we're using a software called SmoothComp for your registration so that you're aware of who you're fighting, what time you're fighting them in advance. And we have tried to make the rule set exciting. It should be more fun. All submissions are allowed for the intermediates and advanced divisions. There are no points in the first half of the matches, which means that, you really have to go for it, which is going to be fun. And we're really doing this for the athletes to test themselves and improve their jiu-jitsu. So, sign up, come through, and have a good time.
Thank you so much, Alisha. So basically, I also have to break the door to come in if I were to, with my broken knee, I'll first heal myself and then try to learn the sport because it is interesting and it intrigues me to know that females can also have a takeaway, not only from this sport, but also use it on their daily, day-to-day lives with coming across a person who's much stronger to them or being in a situation where they can't get out of because it has an element of technique and strategy. So I want to love to learn jiu-jitsu.
Well, we hope that actually by learning jiu-jitsu and developing that confidence that you don't even get into that situation because of your increased situational awareness and your body language. You know, a lot of people, once they're skilled at a martial art, they can give off this energy, don't mess with me, and people pick up on that, especially predators that prey on the weak.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Thank you.
It's not easy when you mess with a jiu-jitsu person.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
It's
I
been
hope
a
you loved our
pleasure.
podcast and I shall see you next time.
Inshallah.
Take care.
Thank you.
Signing out.